Hello and welcome to take 8 of this vlog. 6 was going really well, and then the phone died, the battery died. This is the iPhone 13 that I'm returning to where I was renting it from to save money. And then I just messed up take 7. So I've been finding it really hard to find the 10 minutes to make this vlog, which is ridiculous. There's always 10 minutes. So I realized, okay, that's a mental block. Where's it coming from? And I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to meet this high expectation of every vlog just being this improvised, amazing speech on 1 or 2 topics that I can go really deeply into and provide value and maybe compare and contrast them and just be really interesting, just, on command, which you can only really do if you're in a really good state, you have energy, you've had the time to have great input and also reflect on it. It's many factors that are just not guaranteed, especially if you're having a difficult phase or a really crazy life, which are both the case. And so I also realized I'm doing my live streams with friends where we have really interesting exchange with 2+ people, and that's a lot more input already. It's a whole hour, and it makes a lot more sense to separate these intense thoughts that I would like to share and put them into more prepared content that will come at some point on a different weekday. And then the goal is to have 3 weekdays as pillars for different types of content that will keep my channel really interesting, hopefully really useful to you, and will also really help the algorithm. And so I was thinking, okay, what is the new role of the vlogs then? Because it doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't really feel good to just give really random personal life updates. Like, that's why I call my friends and family, But I do like the vlog format. It somehow felt promising and feels good and easy as well. So I've decided I'm going to approach it in a very depersonalized sort of way, in that I'll be talking about my life and experience from the past week, but only where I think it can be valuable experience for others. So essentially, I'll be talking about stuff that no matter whom I heard it from, it would be useful for me to hear, right? I hope that makes sense. Yeah, so I'll be sharing experiences from my life that I would like to hear from someone else if I were in your shoes. And I think they'll be a lot shorter than 10 minutes now, for sure. So here we go. Here's to the first new kind of vlog. Right, so I'm in the thick of battling for my immigration war. Like, I feel like this is one of the final battles now. I've been an immigrant since I'm 10, and I'm 28. So, I'm at that point where I think no matter which way this goes, this is the end of the line. I'm done being a full-time, first and foremost immigrant. Whatever happens now, I will prioritize myself and everything else about my life over ever trying to get another visa or passport ever again. So, after 6 years in Germany, the Foreigners Office pulled an awful move on me last September, and it's still to be determined whether they had the right to do that or not. I have a great lawyer. I'm not going to go into the details until it's, done and dusted. But basically, I have a lot of work until we can get back to the position where I'm even allowed to apply for a visa. So nothing is guaranteed. There's every step is just 50-50 chance. Everything's been super stressful and uncertain for a really long time now. But I guess I'm built for that. I'm used to it, and I've developed a lot of resilience from these 18 years of being a freaking immigrant. That's like a whole childhood and youth, on top of, after my first 10 years of life. Anyway, so the current situation is I have to convince them once these initial steps are all over, if they all work out and it's all successful, then I have to convince them that I should be able to stay as a freelancer, because I realized for myself that's the only thing that makes sense. Again, I'm prioritizing myself more now than the process. I guess I always have, and that's also why it's been so hard, because I've been trying to come into a very rigid system with my particular boundaries and wishes and demands for how I want to live my life and who I want to be, and that's not really compatible. It's really hard. If you want to upgrade your birthplace, correct your birthplace as I call it, you have to sacrifice a lot of your identity initially, and you have to just do whatever the system wants you to do for the first few years. Play the game, do the hamster wheel, and then eventually you'll have more freedom. And I refuse to do that, because I'm a strong character, very freedom oriented, very opinionated, and maybe idealistic. I don't know. So yeah, this is why it's been so hard, and I'm not gonna loosen up on that now. I'm rather tightening up on standing up for who I want to be. So it has to be freelancer, otherwise I'm outie. And yeah, for them to give me that, I would either have to be earning shitloads or I have to demonstrate that I have great client flow. Ideally both, but the earning part is unrealistic given my profile and the stage at which I'm at. And so what I've done is just to basically take on every gig that I have been able to find that kind of is good enough for me personally, that ticks my boxes and that I think will also look good. And that has led me to end up with a 60 to 70 hour work week spread across 3 cities, plus a 4th one for personal reasons that I'm commuting between. And as you can imagine, I have very little sleep and very little me time. I'm still trying to have a life. I do look after myself, I still have the basics of biohacking quite fresh somewhere in my subconscious, even though I really need to reread all this stuff from when I used to really be an expert. And so yeah, I balance myself out with various techniques, like doing polyphasic sleep if I have to, using stimulants wisely, supplementing, fasting, eating well, meditation, breath work, all the classics. Just to make sure I'm in a good place and just constantly reminding myself what it's all for. I talked in my last live stream with Varun and Svetlana about motivation and resilience and all that sort of stuff. Go check that out, because we really expand on that. And this has been an ultimate test. This has been a real level up for me. I know that I think I'm built for an 80-hour week, and I know that I will love that once I have more autonomy and more influence over how I'm creating those 80 hours of work. Right now I still feel very constrained, very externally dictated, even though I'm at least now in a freelancer position, which has been a huge relief. But it's been really interesting to experience how this number of hours actually feels before I can get more of a say as to how I'm spending them. And now I know, like, okay, this is the level of fitness that I'm going to need before I can, apply that in the way that I really want. So I guess it's like learning to run a certain distance before you can start having sex all night. I'm sorry if that was a bad analogy. I'm tired and I'm going to go to bed. But I'll see you in the next one. Take care.